from the outside looking in, that's what Washington Mystics fans are feeling, as today the Washington Mystics play their last game of the season against the Connecticut Sun. Now, Rachel, you know that unfortunately Thursday night the Mystics lost to the Atlanta Dream 94-91, knocking them out of playoff contention. But today's game still matters because they're playing for pride. So what can the Washington Mystics do to win today's game?
I think the big thing for them is they're going to have to want it more. Connecticut's coming in here. This is their last game, so they're going to be both playing for a win tonight, and they're going to have to want it more. I think it's going to start with the post players working the ball inside out and working together to get this win.
And let's talk about some bright spots for the Washington Mystics. They have Taylor Hill leading the team with about 15.6 points per game. Then Emma Miesemann is the second leading scorer on the team with 15.2 points per game. But she's also the leading three-point scorer in the game. So, I mean, that's another bright spot. But what do the Washington Mystics have really to look forward to on their team?
I think just the intensity from those two is great. You know, they're leading the way for this team and get everyone else on board. So I think that will help them today to end on a high note today.
Exactly. Ending on a high note is what fans want, as today is Fan Appreciation Day. So we are all rooting for the Washington Mystics. Stay tuned for more.
I guess I don't think we competed like we did during the season for parts of the game tonight. I just don't think we were. One of the ways you know that you're really competing is, you know, you make a concerted effort on the boards, and they had 14 offensive rebounds and we had 3. And so what ends up is they have 80 field goal attempts and we have 59. Now, granted, we got to the free throw line, you know, 29 shots, but to have only 2 people on our team get offensive rebounds, that's a bad sign. We have some bright spots. I mean, I think offensively, Kalia Copper is showing her potential. She's still got things to get better at on the defensive end, but I was encouraged by her competitive level. You know, we have other people that really compete. We get that same kind of effort from Ruff and Pratt every night.
I'm here with Christy Winter-Scott. Christy, what do you think their Mystics are going to have to do just moving forward? I mean, they didn't, you know, they ended up not making the playoffs,
right?
And, you know, it's not what they wanted. But moving forward into next season, what do you think they're going to need to do to make some changes?
Well, the number one thing I think for the Mystics, they need to stay healthy. That was their biggest issue, I thought, this year, not being able to put a healthy team on the court for a consistent part of the season. And also, I think they need a perimeter scorer in the draft. And I spoke with Mike Tebow, and that's what he said. He's looking for someone else that could be a go-to player. And so if they take Taylor Hill out of the mix at the end of games, that they can give the ball to someone else. And Emma Miesemann has the ability, but I don't know if she wants that kind of moment yet. And not to say she can't get that, but I don't know if she's ready for that at this particular point. So they're looking for a perimeter go-to player, so look for them to get that in the draft and hopefully come back healthy and see if they can make the playoffs again next year.
And also, consistency has been an issue. You know, they've had a lot of ups and downs, you know, losing streaks, a couple winning streaks. But what can they do to try to be a little bit more consistent next year?
I think focus, and I think that's the big piece. It's they understand what's expected of them, but their issue for most of the season was being able to be consistent with that kind of effort and attention to detail. So they had 19 turnovers when they played Connecticut on average in their first 2 games, and today they had less than 10. So there are some things that are correctable, but it starts with your mentality and your focus.
In the 34th game of the regular season, the Washington Mystics did fall to the Connecticut Sun. But guess what? It was all smiles and joy here, as the Washington Mystics Fan Appreciation Day allowed fans to get the jerseys off of their backs. So staying on that positive note, Rachel, I mean, what can the Washington Mystics look forward to next season, as they did finish 13-21 now this season? I mean, what can they look forward to hopefully getting on that winning side of the ball next season?
I think the big thing for them is going to be consistency. You know, they had a lot of ups and downs, but overall I think they grew as a team, which is great. But moving forward, they're going to really have to work on just trying to make that extra push, especially with the playoffs.
And you said playoffs. Let's think about it. I mean, this is a Mystics team that the 3 seasons prior, they were in the playoff race. So obviously this is a good team that Coach Tebow has. I mean, let's talk about the moving parts of the game. Taylor Hill, I mean, has been so impressive, obviously, after missing a season before when she had her child and she came back. But also, I mean, next year, the Washington Mystics, I think they'll be a completely different team, obviously. I mean, they'll learn a lot from this season. It was a down season. But, I mean, Coach Tebow kind of alluded to next year, you know, just keep moving forward. What would you say, like, were the key 3 things that the Washington Mystics could use to move forward?
I think it's going to be key for them to turn their weaknesses into strengths because, you know, over the season there's going to be different things that come up that may be a weakness, but as long as you keep working towards that to make it better and let that become a strength so that you can get better as a team, I think that'll help them just to take that extra mile and not like stop. And I mean, sometimes there's some rough games, but I think the perseverance after those games is what makes the difference.
All right, it is September, but we are looking forward to the 2017 Washington Mystics season. It sounds so funny saying that already, but hopefully the Washington Mystics fans get their team back in that playoff spot for next year. So signing out for the last time for the 2016 Washington Mystics season, I'm Kelsey Nelson, joined by Rachel McNair. Now back to the studios.